Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our presentation. I'm gonna present today something that is super exciting. SmileFy 2.0. After 4 months of hard work and a lot of new features and a lot of learnings and lessons, we developed something that brings the whole system to the next level. We developed something that brings the SmileFi system from the motivational um, part of aspect of smile design to the clinical aspect and chair side. What we want to do with SmileFi 2.0 is not to improve some workflow. It's not to make it better. We want to disrupt. So we are going to innovate as long as it takes to create a system that can disrupt the way we design smiles. And I'm going to show you the new features that we have, and I'm going to show you, and I'm going to talk about more the vision when it comes to smile design, smile planning. So I'm going to share my screen. What we have developed and what is new in the smile design TNG, smile design, the next generation concept and vision, is a new platform that includes the highest level of innovation and technology. And we want to reinvent smile design workflows to terminate issues and limitations of the past. We need to create something new that is accurate, precise, and helps us from the very beginning to create the most beautiful and most precise smiles possible. The history of smile design, back in the days when we had the picture, smile design started with guessing. So we had the picture, and with the guessing, with the picture, we created the smile design. This smile design was based on guessing. So we tried to create something, and then we moved step by step by step until this smile design was more precise, and it has no connection to 3D. That's the biggest problem with smile design, and that's something that I always repeat and I always explain the limitations of 2D outlines or 2D shapes are huge. And I think that's the biggest concept and the biggest issue in the idea of smile design. We cannot do anything into 2D and translate in 3D because the limitation of the way 2D shapes are visualized in the 3D space cannot be just ignored, right? And dentistry is a precise science. I call it science, so that's why we need to create something else which is more precise. Um, the first important and big advantage is to communicate in a way that the patient understands what's the problem, what's the treatment, what's the issue. The communication as such can be useless. Comprehension cannot be useless. So digital patient is where comprehension begins. The first step that we always do, instead of creating a patient documentation, putting some files in the patient documentation, which are useless, by the way, we create the digital patient. We don't need some files from the patient that we can review, pictures in the Dropbox, intraoral scans somewhere else, CBCTs in a different computer. What we need is the digital patient. It means we calibrate every single file and we create the digital patient. And when we start designing planning, we work with the digital patient. That's the most important aspect of everything, because we calibrate one, we create a digital patient. Afterwards, we just work with the designs. We focus on the design, we focus on the patient communication, and we don't need to calibrate files. Afterwards, we go with the smile simulation, of course, which is powerful but useless. The smile simulation, the 2D, has only one purpose: to motivate the patient and to show the advantages of an aesthetic treatment. This smile design, this 2D smile design, can be not transformed into a 3D smile design, and the result of the aesthetic treatment is different. That needs to be understood. The patient needs to understand, the dentist needs to understand what we communicate when it comes to 2D smile design. And the only way we can create something that is more accurate in a 2D space is to bring the intraoral scan into the patient documentation, calibrate the picture to bring eventually the CBCT, calibrate with the intraoral scan. And then when we don't change the shapes, for example, when we don't change the shapes, when we don't change the form of the shapes, we have the exactly the same visualization of the surface of the tooth in the frontal position. Then we can simulate, for example, a gingivectomy, respecting the bone margin, respecting the shapes that the patient already have. Otherwise, everything is inaccurate when we try to move around the 2D shapes, and to design something that cannot be transformed into a 3D is a waste of time, in my opinion. That's why the smile design, the 2D smile design that we have created is based on AI, is based on automation. In 10 seconds, you get a result, you start a discussion with the patient. And in this discussion, the most important thing is to find out if the patient likes a dominant or a less dominant smile, a monotonic smile, if the patient likes um, oval, round, square shapes. That's the information that you need to get from the discussion, but not promising the patient that the 2D smile design is going to be the aesthetic result. We go to the 3D smile design. Until now, we could do only the mock-up and finals for the upper jaw. Um, the 3D smile frame helps us to create a 3D mock-up easily and in a very short period of time, which we can export and print and create for the patient the mock-up experience with the new design. We can combine the templates that we have, and everything is much faster, and the communication with the patient is also at a different level, because we can exchange the centrals, for example, without redesigning, and we can print 3 mock-ups at once and then create for the patient a different experience based on his feedback or her feedback. We can modify the 3D smile design. The new update, of course, brings the lower design, very important. And then we have the 3D design done, which brings with the lower design, bring it into a different level. And I had to, the last, eventually 1.5 months, I worked heavily with my team to cover every single aspect of the lower design. And now we're going to discuss the update, which I hope we're going to be able to release next week. So in August until the 1st of September, we're going to have SmileFy 2.0. Why 2.0? Because it's a completely different level of not only of smile design, but also a different level of clinical planning. The first super interesting feature, it's in beta, so we have a small group of users. We test the integration of AI diagnostics combined with the smile design. So what is the biggest problem that we have right now? We have a solution for AI diagnostics. We have a solution for smile design. We have a solution for X-ray diagnostics. We have a medical viewer in a different computer. We have solutions. Everywhere we have solutions. We have computers and we have solutions. But we need everything linked to the workflow of smile design. Otherwise, we're not going to use all these solutions and they are useless for us. Just imagine you design and you just focus on the design. In this case, 6 units. The CT file that you have added to the patient documentation is sent to the cloud. Automatically, the AI diagnostics is created. And when you go and click on info, the reports, the AI diagnostics, you get for every single tooth, the diagnostics, the thumbnails, the problems, fillings, bone loss, cavities, whatever it is. Then suddenly you did only the design, but you have a summary of the AI diagnostics, and you know exactly what is the problem of the patient, what is the biological condition of the patient. and you have a better overview in the same period of time, like you have like you have in the design. So you have the overview of the condition, the biological condition. You can make the decisions about the treatment. You can add notes. You can explain to the patient, but also show visually. That's the most important part of communication. You can visually communicate what's the problem with the situation, with the condition. And that brings everything what we do to a different level, because suddenly we don't guess. Suddenly I don't have only veneers. I have the treatment behind the veneers, and everything is done automatically by the system. CBCT segmentation, in my opinion, super important because, again, we design veneers, we design crowns, but they have a wrong axial inclination. To make sure everything what we do is precise from the very beginning, we have the CBCT segmentation, so you are going to see the roots of every single tooth in the design. So you have several layers of 3D, you have the intraoral scan, you have the design, and you have the CBCT segmentation. So seeing the roots of the teeth is also a different way to plan the smile. And then you need to keep the balance, because you know the story of the facially driven smile design is beautiful, but at the end of the day, we need to keep the balance between the biological condition of the patient and what's possible to design and the facial driven smile design. We cannot go with the ideal design when behind the ideal design is a lot of treatment, ortho, perio, implants, design, and so on. This tool helps us now. SmileFy helps us to create an interdisciplinary planning to visualize every single issue linked to the design and to have an overview about the treatment. Then also something that you can do, we have a test phase now with a company called ULab. ULab is a company that creates ortho plannings and aligners. You have the original intraoral scan. You have the latest model of the ortho sequence. Everything is digitally, right? You didn't touch the patient right now. Everything is digitally planned and organized. You have the last sequence of the ortho. You design on top aesthetics. You superimpose all files, and then you explain to the patient why ortho is needed before you start with aesthetic treatment. Then you can, of course, you can decide if you take the latest model, or if you have a sequence of 12 aligners, for example, you can take the 6th aligner and see if your STL is all the teeth are properly moved, or you need more ortho to have space enough for the veneers. So it's a lot of very simple to use workflows, but very powerful for the planning and for the visual communication. And here we go with the 3D smile frame that we have developed. We have the very powerful way to align the teeth, to move the teeth, and so on. One of the biggest problems is the very beginning of every single aesthetic treatment. Taking the picture. 95% of the pictures that I saw are wrong. The patient doesn't look frontal in the camera. The patient doesn't smile enough, doesn't open the mouth, and so on. I have created a system, an AI system that analyzes the face and takes the picture. You just can hold the iPhone or the iPad in front of the patient. As soon as the patient is perfectly frontal and smiles, the app takes pictures automatically. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, as long as you keep the iPhone in front of your patient. Afterwards, you have a gallery of 10 pictures, for example, and you can click on the thumbnail, and then you see the preview, and the app is telling you smile is 90%, it's fine, frontal position, eyes open, you can use this picture for the smile design. So with this feature, I try to help you to improve the first step of every single aesthetic treatment to take a proper picture of the patient. Then we have the chat and communication. The chat option, we are going to have the premium user group where we can exchange and interact with our community. We're going to exchange, everything is HIPAA compliant. So we can exchange ideas of treatments, we can exchange cases, we can exchange expertise, workflows, issues, whatever we need to improve. So it's going to be a huge interaction in this chat. And based on this interaction, we are going to educate ourselves to more and more features. Then we have the medical viewer inside, of course, the app. So you just upload the CBCT in the patient documentation. Automatically, it goes to the cloud, it's saved, and then we create the, you can open immediately the project in the case management medical viewer, and you can open the medical viewer also in the Smile Design screen, in the 3D Smile Design screen. So when you design, you have also the visual reference, and you can check every single issue of the patient. And when you design, for example, veneers, that's something that I liked very, very much. When you design your lowers and the veneers, you can go and see that the lowers overlap with the uppers, and then you know exactly what the treatment can be. And that's also very, very important help to start from the very beginning with a very accurate design and planning. Vertical dimension of occlusion. That's something that I had to learn the last 4 weeks, because as you know, I'm not a dentist, not a technician. So I did the first lower design, testing the new version of the application, and it was awful. The case that I selected was just not working at all. So I learned about the vertical dimension of occlusion. The feature, of course, is going to help you to increase the vertical dimension. You need to, with the COIS-D programmer or a byte registration, to set the correct position of the vertical dimension, to scan the side, the right and left side. And then in the app, you have the option to calibrate these two scans with the upper jaw, and then to calibrate the two sides with the lower jaw, and so create the correct position for your smile design. The Medit connection is a very, very simple and exciting feature. If you have a Medit scanner, the Medit, you can log in into your Medit link account, and with one click, you get all your Medit scanners inside the patient documentation. So one click and you are ready to go and to design your smiles with Medit scans. Medit has also a lot of amazing and super easy to use features. You can close the meshes, you can create a base, you can create a closed mesh. So you can create inside a Medit link every single feature that you need, and then just import in the patient documentation, the closed mesh and everything else. Then we have a new version of the mesh editor. We have colors, we have new tools in the mesh editor, very important tools. You can move the teeth now. You can just click on them and you can move the teeth and reposition eventually the every single tooth. We have the presentation mode where we add colors on the teeth. And the brushes and everything what we have are more precise and more powerful. And of course, the lower design. Also in the testing phase in the 2.0, we can take the original scan with the denture, with the scan bodies, superimpose both files, lower also. Then we calibrate with the byte registration, both files, upper and lower jaw. And we can calibrate the scan bodies on your scan. Then the scan objects here, shows you with Peak Dental, for example, you can register the position of the scan bodies. You can superimpose with your upper and lower jaw, and then on top you can create your design for your denture. And with the 3D smile frame that we have, the denture creation is super easy, because then you decide the occlusal curve and everything else is calculated automatically. Upper and lower design is calculated automatically based on your occlusal curve. There is no distortion, there is no anything. You just decide the occlusal curve and we create the dentures. The only thing that is missing is to create gums, but that's something that we're gonna work on it, and then we're gonna make a small update, and then you get also the gums. What we also have integrated in the 3D Smile design, I need to show you that's also a huge help for designing smiles, is the feature to move the teeth by clicking on them. As you can see, I select one tooth, and now I can rotate directly on the tooth. That's a prototype. I'm gonna create some better colors for the arrows, and yeah, the graphics, everything is gonna be a little bit more beautiful as it is right now. But the feature I think is powerful, because if you want to move a tooth to a different position, then you can do it like this, and then with the buttons on the right side, you can make the small adjustments, and you can make everything very, very precise. And uh, that's a huge help, you know, to bring the teeth in the right position, and to resize them, to rotate them, and to create the smile design a little bit faster. So as you can see, we have a lot of new stuff, a lot of innovations. We move from the motivational part of the smile design to the clinical planning. And that's very exciting. It's very exciting because now a lot of research and development and prototypes are needed to create a tool that will allow you chairside to create all these beautiful smiles in 10, 20 minutes, and get the AI diagnostics, interdisciplinary planning, and get a beautiful presentation together for your patient and visually communicate. On the other side, when you have the digital patient with all these plannings and diagnostics, you can share the whole digital patient with your lab, with your surgeon, whoever is involved in the case, and everybody can review the case, open the case without the need of sending emails, sending text messages, and the whole communication is then in a different way. So that's SmileFy 2.0. I think it is, after 4 months of going live, we had a lot of improvements and a lot of lessons and a lot of dentistry integrated in the system. We improve every single day, but SmileFy 2.0 will bring the whole platform to a different level, to a level of dentistry. And I'm very excited to be ready with you to start everything what we have in the system and develop. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.